Welcome to Visual Basic. We're going to deal with a program that's designed to prepare you for quiz number 2, and kind of got a mismatch here. We're going to spend some time talking about picture boxes, and then we're going to talk about the differences between radio buttons and between check boxes. So those three things are primarily what we're dealing with here. So let's go ahead and file, create a new project. Once again, make certain you have Visual Basic selected. Let's make certain we have Windows Form selected, and let's make certain this is going to our iDrive, which it will not be the default. So I'm going to browse into our iDrive, and I'm going to create a new folder, and let's go Pictures, Radio Buttons, and check boxes. And I'm going to put this program in here, select the folder. I'm going to call it Pictures, Radio Buttons, and check boxes. Let's get started. We're going to start with the somewhat laborious and tedious process of just getting a picture loaded into our resources. Eventually, I'm going to put it into a picture box, but this is worth noting. So here's my picture box. While a picture box has lots of properties and lots of useful properties for that picture box, a little locked right now. There are two common, very, very commonly used properties, which are right here. These are also available in the properties window, but to choose an image right now is a very common one. We have no images to choose from. And then size mode, oftentimes this is put on stretch image. Oftentimes. We'll leave it on normal for right now. We'll talk more about that. But it's worth noting that two very, very commonly used properties of picture boxes are conveniently placed right here on this little arrow for you. Typically, when I put a picture in there, I immediately handle those from there. Again, we could come over here and change our image right through here. But without that, from right here, if we go to, when we place it on here, choose an image, takes us to that same window. And then we've got a size mode here as well. We could change the size mode, but again, nice and conveniently located. Trust me when I tell you, Visual Basic put those there for our convenience, so we'll thank them by using that. Okay, so I've got my picture box on here. I'm going to go ahead and, because I've got good habits, I'm going to go ahead and change Form 1's, not the form name up here, but its text property. I'm going to change this to Picture Boxes, Radio Buttons, and Check Boxes. I'm going to go into my form. You can even double click on your form to get into your form's code for the form. Not going to use this. This is dead code right now. We'll talk about form load at some point, but I am going to put in our 3 remarks because I've got good habits doing that. As hopefully you do. It's a shame to have a perfectly working program but not have that as a habit and get marked down on a point. So again, your name will go here. The name or description of project will go here, and the completion date will go in this position. All right, so here we go. To get a picture loaded to ultimately put in our picture box, here is our sequence. Might want to jot it down. Probably if you practice it a few times, it'll become automatic for you. But there's a little bit going on. We're going to go to Project. At the bottom, this Pictures is only because this program's named Pictures. This will be whatever you name your program will be the very bottom choice here. But we want the properties, and on the properties, pictures are resources that we add into our program. So I'm going to go to resources, and notice after resources, this is strings, and strings again are groups of words or groups of numbers not intended for calculations like serial numbers or phone numbers, such. But we want to go images, and then we want to add a resource from an existing file. The only problem is, and I'm doing this twice intentionally, is I haven't got any pictures yet. So we'll go through that one more time after we actually get some pictures. So let's go ahead and let's go to Google here. And I'm going to, yesterday was opening season of baseball, so I'm going to search for a Cubs image. I'm going to go to images, and I'm not going to be real picky here, although I'd love to get that Bodie Grand Slam from last year. But let's go ahead and just, oh, there's Javi. Let's go ahead and see if we can do this as a save image as. Now, big warning here. For images for us to save, there are three types, two primarily, of file types that we would like to use. Excuse me. JPEGs are good. So are PNGs, and GIFs are good. I call them GIFs. But JPEGs, PNGs. A lot of times Google's going to open up to TFIFs, TFFIs or TFIFs. I don't recall offhand. Those aren't good. There's some others that aren't good. There may be some others that work, but you can typically find a JPEG or a PNG. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. I'm going to go ahead and save it in my file. So I'm going to search in my iDrives, in my courses, Visual Basic VB website. It's not that one. It is Basics. I've got it in Basics. Pictures, radio buttons, and check boxes. I'm going to save it in that file. And I'm going to give the name. Here's another important one. Hint, hint. For our name, give it something appropriate. However, do not have anything that's non-alphabetic in there unless perhaps you've got a number at the end of it. No spaces, no slashes, no control keys, no dollar signs. Something really simple, all one word. So I'm going to go Cubs image, and maybe I could go as far as putting like a, let's say I had Javi Baez pictures 1, 2, 3. Cubs image Javi. I could put a 1 here or a 2 there. Don't start with a number. Don't put any spaces. Keep it really, really simple. For this one, I'm just going to go Cubs image, and I'm going to save that. I'm going to go ahead and look for Brewers. Tip of the cap to our northern friends. And this one looks like a happy picture, so I'm going to save image as. It's a JPEG. I'm good. I'm just going to go Brewers image. We could name it just Brewers. Save, and Cardinals. I'm going to go with those three. And I wonder if there's anything derogatory here about Cardinals. That's probably not nice. Let's see here. I'll just go with this one. Save image as, and I'm in luck. That's a JPEG as well. That's good. So I will call that Cardinals image and save. Okay, so those are just on my iDrive. Those aren't in my program yet. So if you're ready for notes here, I'm going to go back to my form. I'm going to go back through this whole process again. To load pictures into our resources, we're going to go to Project, Step 2, we're going to go to properties. It's at the bottom option of project. Then resources. Now normally the default isn't to be on images, but I already set it to images. It would normally be on strings. I would set this to images. I'd go to add resources, add existing file. And now I'm going to have to track that down. So I'm in here. I'm in my Visual Basic. I'm in Basics. I'm in Pictures and Radio Buttons. And you can select, I'm holding down Shift key. You can select all three and open those all at the same time. Okay, so there's my Brewers image, my Cardinals image, my Cubs image. You might have noticed that those got populated over here in our resources file. So there's other resources other than images we can use. And as you get more advanced, if you stick with visual programming, you might, but for the overwhelming majority of this course, you're going to be using images quite a bit. Okay, so back to either our form, back to our code form. Just show you this. If I was to, let's say, use this commonly used ones, if I choose an image, now I've got choices. Of course, I'm going to be drawn to Cubs first, and I click OK. And maybe I like that. Maybe I want to make it bigger and frame it, and that might be the case for us as well. Maybe we like the sizing of it exactly as it is. But you could also, let's say we open this thing up and it looked like that. You can also go size mode, stretch image, and it'll fit it. The problem with that is, as you will see, is we get some distortion. So that's a user preference. You can play around with that a little bit. I oftentimes go to stretch image and then size it. Now we're going to actually be putting 3 different pictures in this picture box. So good habits. I've got a picture box. I'm going to be referring to this picture in code. So I am going to name this pick, and it wouldn't make much sense to name it Cubs because I'm going to put the Brewers picture in there and the Cardinals picture in there as well. So I'm just going to go pick team. Okay, so that's going to be available for us in code. Again, lots of other properties we can use on this, but that's what we're going to go with for right now. Now, I want to talk radio buttons with you a little bit before we get going too far here. I'm going to show you a uniqueness about radio buttons. I'm just going to put a bunch of these on the form. Now, I'm not going to refer to these ones in code, so I'm not going to give them proper naming conventions. I'm not even going to change their text property. But here's the story with radio buttons. And it has a lot to do with very, very old school automobile radio buttons where if you push one button in, the other 5 buttons would pop out. So you could only have one radio station selected at a time. If we start this program, unless we tell it otherwise, typically one radio button is selected. If I select another radio button, those become unselected. Okay, that's a radio button. Now, similar to radio buttons are checkboxes. The main overriding difference between the two there's always going to be a radio button selected unless we bypass that. Radio buttons will turn on unchecked unless we tell them to be checked, and you can check multiples. So if we were, let's say, letting people order cars, we would use radio buttons for the color of the car, exterior color, but maybe check boxes for some of the features. Do we want an upgraded stereo? Do we want all the safety features? Do we want the turbocharge, where we could select multiples? So that is the primary difference, is a radio button, only one will be selected, and a checkbox none or multiples may be selected. Now with that, you might be able to imagine some scenario where, okay, if we were ordering cars, we're going to choose a single color for it, but maybe we got 3 choices for colors and maybe 2 choices for our tires. We only want for the type of tires we're going to have. And I want to be able to select one of these 2 radio buttons and one of these 3. So what you could do with that is use what's referred to as a group box. And if I've got this group box, we'll talk more about these at a later time, but group boxes are kind of interesting with radio buttons. Let's see, let's go with another group box here. So in my car scenario, I might change this group box to its text property to color, and this one to tires. And now watch what happens when we run these, when we run this. These 3 interact, but these interact separately. So we could do that. If these were not in group boxes, you would not see, if these were all just strictly on the form, you would not see this happen where they're both selected at the same time. Okay, so there you have it. I'm going to go ahead and, one nice thing about group boxes too is if I decide I want to move something, let's line this up first just because I can't stand it. If I want to move the group box, I can actually move everything in the group box. So for design, sometimes if you had 20 things and you want to move them to a different location, putting a group box around them and moving them and just deleting the group box would be good. Okay, but I'm going to go ahead and delete that group box, and I'm going to change this one, this radio button. I'm going to change its text property to Cubs, and I'm going to change its name to RAD lowercase and then Cubs. The second one, let's go RAD Brewers, and then change its text property to Brewers. And the third one, let's go ahead, and I know that's small, I'll make things a little bit bigger for you here in a minute. Radio button 3, let's change its text property to Cardinals and change it to RAD Cardinals. Okay, let's see if we can do this. What if I select the group box and I change the font? I wonder if that'll change the font of everything. Change the font to be 20. Changes the font of all of those things to 20. Didn't do me any favors by spacing things out. I must have double clicked. So those things are not of use to us. And we got a bit of an error here, and usually I can't get back out of this. No such luck. This is going to happen, and I'll probably restart this video, but I'm going to show you an option here. I'm going to go to File, Save All. I'm going to close this and hope that that is just a glitch because it happens. Cubs image is not a member of the resources. So I'm going to close this out. Could be very worthwhile for you to see this. I've saved all. I'm going to close it. I'm going to open back up Visual Studio and see if this will work. File, open. Up here's pictures, radio buttons, check boxes. I'm going to try to open it. And if you notice, I got away with that. I'm really glad that happened. It doesn't happen very often, but it will definitely happen during the course of this year where some glitch occurs And if we make sure to save all and reopen, we'll be in good shape. We might be in good shape. If not, then we might lose some time and just have to redo things. Okay, so radio, I'm just checking their names. Radio button Cardinals, radio button Brewers, radio button Cubs. So here's the theory. When this program starts, or when I click Cubs, I want the Cubs image to show, I want the Brewers image to show when I click it, and I want the Cardinals image to show. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at that. So I'm going to double click Cubs. Cubs radio button, I want to use it. I'm going to move it below my green stuff and get rid of this. Not that that green can't be later, but it's kind of nice to have those 3 good habit remarks up here. So here's the deal. When I click the radio button, I want that to affect the picture box team, the pick team. So I'm going to say pick team dot image equals sneaky. My refers to this form. My dot, remember it was in resources dot, and take a look, there they are. I'm going to start typing in Cubs image. Likewise, double click Brewers. Sometimes it won't send you right in there, but it's probably going to be there. There's Brewers. I basically want to steal all of this for myself. That Brewers image, and double click Cardinals, Control V again, pick team image equals my resources dot Cardinals. Could it possibly be that easy? So we run this program, and the Cubs image was already on there. Notice, because I put these in a group box, and that was really just cosmetic, and I'll probably change the name of the text property of the group box, none were selected. But if I go ahead and pick Brewers, Cardinals, Cubs, we'll be in pretty good shape there. The only thing I don't like about that is when I start it up, we're kind of out of sync. So I've got 2 choices. I'm either going to start by telling the Cubs radio button to be checked, or telling this image not to be shown. I think I'm going to show you both, but I'm going to do this with this image being invisible. I could select Cubs, and notice it has a check property that's set to false. I could set that to true, start the program, and now it makes sense. We're in sync. Or I could set the checked property back to false. Remember, when I started here, we're out of sync, so I could have the image right here where we got a choice for image. It's set to be the Cubs. I could say none, and now when we start the program, I think we're going to be in sync that way. Hey, I want to see the Brewers, Cardinals, Cubs. Okay? All right, then I want to show you some stuff with a couple of these check boxes. To do that, let's go ahead and change their font a little bit. We'll change their name shortly as well. Give it something a little bit easier to see. So we've got these check boxes. Before I get to that, I'm going to put a text box under here that's going to be a caption for our picture. This is something we might do commonly. Capture for the picture. So I'm going to call this txt caption, and I'm going to set its enabled property to false. You might remember from the last video. We could also make it read only false, but enabled makes it so the user cannot get in there and type over stuff. while I'm in here, I'll change its font size to be 16, make it maybe a little bit bigger. And thinking ahead a little bit, you might run the program and realize maybe I want to text a line, have that be centered. We can come back and play around with that. So what happens, I click Cubs, I want the image to change, but I want this to say something about the Cubs. Right now, I've got my image here, or no image. I've got my read-only text box. I think you should be able to see that, but there is no caption with it. So I want to change TXT caption when I click Cubs. When I click Cubs, TXT caption.text equals go Cubs go. And let's just take a look at that. Nothing there until I click this, and there we have it. Obviously, need something for Brewers and Cardinals as well. So let's go TXT caption dot text equals Wisconsin. Good luck, Brewers. Tough for me to say that. All right, and Cardinals, txt caption.text equals quotations. You used to be really good. Sorry, I just have not come quite far enough in my Christian walk to give them something positive here. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look. So we got Go Cubs Go, Brewers, everything looks pretty good here, unless you're a Cardinals fan. And then these check boxes, what I'm going to do with these check boxes, at least the first one, I'm going to give you the option of whether or not you want to see this text caption. So if this is checked, so first I'm going to say show image, not the name, sorry, CHK caption, CHK caption. I could call it, just for the purposes of you understanding what's going on here, I'm going to go show hide caption. Try to go show hide caption. Show hide caption. And then I'm going to give it a text property of caption. At the same time, I think I'm going to put a label on this form, and I'm just going to have that a little smaller font here. Let's go 12, and I'm just going to put, for the captions text, I'm going to put programmed by PSN. Just something down there at the bottom. Okay, and I'm going to use this one for, just to kind of show you the same thing twice. Programmer, to hide or show the programmer, so we're going to call that one CHK programmer. All right, so let's go create some captions. So let's go, what I want to do when I hit that is, if this is checked true, then this thing, TXT caption, is going to be visible true. If this guy's checked property is false, this is going to be false. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to go CHK caption. Nope. Back up here. We're trying to affect this. So I'm going to go CHK, it's not checkbox. I'm going to go txt caption dot visible equals, and you notice it options are true or false, but I could also go CHK show hide my checkboxes dot checked property. Now this is a little bit mysterious. Both of these properties could be true or false, which means if CHK show hide captions check property is false, TXT captions visible property is going to become false, or it's going to be invisible, and vice versa. Let's see how that works, but I'll bet we're going to have to make a little modification. We run this, not checked, I click Cubs, and now it's confusing. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I don't want to see the caption. Oh, I see the caption. And now from there on, we're in sync, but we're not in sync at the beginning. One more time, show you that again. We're going to go start. I hit Cardinals. The caption is there. It's still there. So what are my choices? My choices are to either start this visible false or this checked yes. I think I'm going to start this visible false, one of its properties. Likewise, I think I'm going to start programmer visible false, and then let's change this programmer CHK. So this is going to be LBL. Oh, did I not use good naming conventions? Oh my goodness, I still have that one label 1. LBL programmer. Could have used a text box here as well, just wanted to throw a label at you. So LBL programmer dot visible equals the status of CHK programmer dot checked. Extraneous white space. No problem. So let's see what we've got here. Brewers. Hey, I'd like to see the caption. Ooh, I don't like the caption. I'd like to see the caption. Very good. One other thing that I have to have. The 3 things that we must have are remarks. We must have form. Form 1 is not just say form 1 up here. And we should have an exit button. So I don't have a plain old button. We've got a button here. I'm going to go BTN exit. I'm going to change its font, make it a little bit bigger, which you probably don't have to do, but for video purposes, I think it might be helpful. And change its text property, of course. Exit. Will that exit the program? I told it to exit. I told the button's text property would be exit. Will that make the program exit? I get to play around with this a little bit, do all the fun things that we told it to do. And I want to exit. Can't exit. The text property doesn't have anything to do with the code. The code has to do with the code, and there we type in end. Not in its text property, but in the code. And now we've got what we need. There's only one sore thumb I see on this, and that is this group box. I could go text team name. And I kind of like this. I'm actually going to take these 3 things, move them out of here for a second. I'm going to take this font. I want to show you this. I don't like that team name font so big. And this is kind of the fun thing about programming. We've done all the logical work, and now we get it. I just kind of consider it dessert. I'm going to take these guys now. Notice how it's still kind of associated. Maybe I still had those selected. I'm going to change these guys' fonts back a little bit bigger again. The radio buttons inside do not have to be the same font size as this. And there we have a pretty decent program. Things you could do, we could certainly do things like put in shortcuts, as you've been doing, but just to review, I could have this be ampersand, shift 7, Cubs. I'm only going to put a couple of these things in here. Ampersand, B, Brewers. Cardinals don't deserve one. And exit, I'm going to go ampersand, X, or ampersand between the E and the X, so exit, we'll exit the program. And maybe I'll put in a tooltip. There's tooltip pops up down here. I'm going to tooltip the caption here. What's it going to do? Tooltip on the caption. There's tooltip. Will show a caption under the team image. It's kind of lengthy for a tooltip, but let's take a look. All right, so Cubs, C, Brewers, B. Cardinals, got to click it, but Cubs, Brewers, float over caption. We'll show a caption under the team image. Got it. About to hit X in 1, 2, 3. Okay, one other thing I want to show you, and that is going to be this. This is my picture box. I'm going to put a label down here. I'm going to do a LBL. And this is weird, it doesn't have anything to do with this program, but it's something I want you to see. LBL picture as button. And I'm going to change its text property to nothing. And I'm going to go ahead and give it a font a little bit bigger and change this. And now, this is going to seem weird, but I'm going to double click on this picture, and this says, look at this, pick team click, just like button click. Everything in here is the same, and what that's telling me is that a picture button may be used like a button. So I'm going to go LBL picture as button dot text equals pictures may be used as buttons. And let's run that. I don't think maybe it can right here, even there. Yeah, because it wasn't really invisible, there just isn't a picture. But if I exit this, go here, click on, didn't want to go there, go here, that's what I meant. Run it, click Brewers, click Cardinals, click caption, click programmer, click on this, and yeah, pictures may be used as buttons, and it's really a good option for us at times if we want to jazz up or if we want more information about it. Might have been a really good thing to have this picture tie into that caption. I could use the picture to show that caption. Okay, I think that is everything that you need to know if you've got this down. I've got kind of an interesting program because you'll notice we've got radio buttons, we've got check boxes, and plain old button, and we even have picture acting as a button. All of these things are showing us code. You can load up your form with some useful things. It made sense to have these be radio buttons, made sense to have these be check boxes, and exit, what else would I possibly do with exit other than exit? It made sense just to be a plain old single button. Okay, should be ready for quiz number 2. Good luck to you, and by all means ask help if I can provide anything for you. Good luck.